Today, we're taking a breath of fresh air with Mexico's flag carrier. Aeromexico is respectfully the flagship airline of Mexico, and it represents their country at all their destinations around the world. They serve almost all primary and secondary destinations into Mexico, with flights to the major cities in the US, Canada, South America, Caribbean, Europe, and even some in Asia. The plan today is to take a look at the Boeing 737 MAX 9 and 737-800 on the relatively quick flights from Guadalajara, where we left off on Mexicana last time, to Mexico City, and then up to Monterrey. So, how is Aeromexico as a flag carrier for serving into Mexico, especially on these competitive routes? What will their 737 offer on board for comfort and amenities on their longer flights up to the US, Canada, and down to South America? What will they even be able to do for everyone on these shorter flights? What's going on, guys? Casey Flower here. We'll see if the flagship is really the best way to travel around Mexico, or we should just stick to Volaris and Viva and save a few bucks. Apparently the app already checked in for me, because when I looked into my itinerary, it already said check-in was complete, so all I did was grab my boarding pass. Coming in straight from Mexico City was the inbound. November 891 Alpha Mike will be the 2-year-old Max over to Mexico, and she was delivered brand new in November 2022. Alright, who's gonna tell them? Who's gonna tell all those passengers there that if you stand up and wait in line to board sooner, then the flight's not gonna take off any earlier? Gotta love gate lice, am I right? But yeah, the inbound has been here for a while now. It's deplaning. All of the passengers coming in from Mexico City came in actually early, if anything, so that probably means that we'll get on early and depart on time, if not even a few minutes early, which would be good. So we're about 5 minutes out from boarding time right now, so all that's left between then and now, just get on and see how good Aeromexico is as a flagship carrier. After slowly going through the jet bridge and aisle to my seat, I eventually made it to 24A, with a width of 17 inches, a pitch of 31, and a recline of 3. Alright, we are boarded on the Aeromexico MAX 9. The seat so far, yeah, it's the standard economy seat. Nothing out of the ordinary. Standard economy width, legroom, recline. Yeah, nothing exciting as far as that goes for economy, as far as the dimensions go. But we do have a backseat IFE, so we got a TV there, which we can check out once we get airborne, as well as in-seat power. So we have universal power and USB-A back there, so we can keep our devices charged and battery alive when we are connected to the in-flight Wi-Fi, which we can also connect to. There's a QR code on the tray table which we can scan and use that to get connected to the Wi-Fi, as well as a sign up there on the overheads indicating that the Wi-Fi is on, so we'll check that out once we get airborne too. So with that said, when we get airborne, we got lots to talk about in the next 42 minutes.
253 bound to Mexico City. Our main flight to Mexico City will be 50 minutes and we will be flying over 33,000 feet above the sea level. Dinora Diaz is in charge of the flight attendant crew, and we'll be happy to assist you to make your trip comfortable and safe.
We are airborne out of Guadalajara and on our way to Mexico City. So, as promised, I'll take you guys IFE surfing and show you guys what's on TV. The flight attendants are also coming through with the snack and beverage cart, so we'll see what we get there. They've come through with the beverage and single light snack service. So, Exhibit A, we got these peanuts. Literally just these Aeromexico peanuts. Yeah, I'm sure they have proper meals and more snacks to choose from on the longer flights they got going on. And they also came with the beverage cart. So all I saw from that was just like Coke, Diet Coke for soda, and then orange juice for juices, and a bunch of alcohol like tequila, some more lager. But yeah, it's the essentials. Water, Coke, Diet Coke, tequila, and juice. So there you go there. Alright, so here is our main menu for the IFE. So first things first, we can go into movies and look at our selection. Just go into A to Z so we have a list of all of them. Yeah, it's a pretty good selection we got here. Scrolling through all of them. Pretty good selection for the Aeromexico long hauls for movies. Very nice. And then we can go into TV series and see what we got. Yeah, into A to Z again. Yeah, no, we got the essentials. Yep. Gossip Girls. We got Big Bang Theory, respectfully. Looney Tunes, The Middle, Tom and Jerry, if that's your thing, all the essentials, Young Sheldon, if that's your thing, to keep yourself busy for the longer flights, as opposed to this one, which is under an hour. Audio, what music do we got? Just Mexican stuff, but still pretty good, can't complain there. We got Bluetooth, so if you brought Bluetooth headset, Apple AirPods that you can connect to, you can use that by just switching that on, but I didn't bring mine with me, so I won't be using that. Yeah, no. And then Aeromexico channel, not entirely sure what this is. Sure. Spider. Plants. Okay. Yeah, some Mexico documentary, I would think. Alright, that's something. That's alright. And then just the About Us page. Okay, so yeah, got a lot to choose from there. With the status bar and our ETA, and the flight map, which is probably the Flight Path 3D suite, if I were to guess. Flight Path 3D powers activate. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so here's the map. I'm filming this segment relatively late, so we're already almost there, as you can see. Still got another 20 minutes out. And yeah, case in point, that was an announcement to have the cabin crew take their seats. So I'll speed this up. Aircraft 3D, left window. Can look in the cockpit and see the HUD and see that we're descending past 32,700. Yeah, Flight Path 3D suite. Can't go wrong there. But yeah, that was the IFE, pretty good stuff, a lot to choose from for the longer Aeromexico flights. And with the Wi-Fi, I was checking out the Wi-Fi situation, and I just went into my Wi-Fi settings, selected the Aeromexico Wi-Fi network. Respectfully, it redirected me to the Safari browser for it, and I was greeted with the status bar for the flight of how much longer we had and where we were going. Start scrolling down, and we have the option to get free messaging, then the option to get free Wi-Fi for 15 minutes so we can test the waters and try before we buy. Then we can get internet for $5 for an hour, or full flight internet for $8, which is pretty good. I don't know if that's the same for all Aeromexico flights, so $8 for the full flight on this one would just be 1 hour, versus like $8 for the full flight if we were going to like Japan or Europe for like 12 or 14 hours, which is totally different. So yeah, it would be interesting if it was actually $8 for the longer flights too. But yeah, $8 is fair, and it makes sense for this quick one. And it's also nice, like I said, that we can try it for 15 minutes before we buy it and see what it's like, and we can see what it can do and what its limitations are. I tried it, and yeah, it's the standard flight Wi-Fi. It can refresh social media, you can scroll through it, you can track the flight, but it's just going to be a hit or miss when it comes to streaming video. But with all that said, we are on our final descent into Mexico City, as these announcements have suggested. The speed brakes are out, and we'll be on the ground momentarily, and I'll see you guys then. After that rather firm landing, we were greeted with a taxi with a pretty good amount of both active and formal Mexican aviation goodies. Bumpy would also be an okay word to use for it. Have a good night, thank you. I'll see ya. Alright, we're down in Mexico City. This terminal feels like a prison because the views outside and natural light is extremely limited, and the gates are extremely closed off. They feel like a prison too. But yeah, anyway, it's hot in here, so I'm gonna go find something to drink. Maybe something to drink. But yeah, our flight to Monterrey boards in about 15 minutes, so I'll make my way over to the gate to meet our plane in Monterrey. And would you look at that, for round 2, we will be boarding from a bus gate. The 737-800 for the just over an hour-long flight up to Monterrey will be the 15-year-old X-Ray Alpha Oscar. Delivered to Norwegian in March of 2010 as Lima November Oscar Vector, then switched to Echo India Foxtrot Hotel in February 2015, still with Norwegian, then to TUI as Golf Tango Uniform Kilo Charlie, that December 2015, then finally to Aeromexico, where she is now in June of 2021. I got myself a premium economy seat, or Aeromexico Plus, as it's branded as for this one. Seat 7F has a width of 17, a pitch of 34, and a recline of 3. Alright, we are boarded on the Aeromexico 737-800 up to Monterrey. Yeah, the seat is pretty much identical to the one we had on the MAX 9. It's retrofitted, which is nice, so we have the IFE on this one too, as well as the in-seat power, universal power, and USB-A. just an older 737 NG cabin, and that's really the only difference. And it has the Wi-Fi equipped too, respectfully. But yeah, I spent too long outside taking photos of everything like on the ramp that the overhead bins closer to the front where I am filled up with bags, so the crew were nice enough to let me go back and throw my backpack up in the overheads over row 21, so that was nice of them and accommodating, so I just had to awkwardly creep my way back up here. But there we go, we're almost ready to go. Boarding doors closed, and we'll make our way out of here up to Monterrey. Alright, airborne again out of Mexico City and on our way up to Monterrey. I checked out the Wi-Fi again on this one, and it was the same thing as last time. We had one that was free texting, and then free for 15 minutes, and then $5 for an hour, and then $8 for the whole flight. It worked for a few minutes, then it became unavailable, so that was fun. So yeah, just like with most carriers, it's not going to be guaranteed to work, and this is no exception. Worked pretty fine on the last one, but quit working on this one, and hey, it might come back on this one later in the flight. So we'll see what happens with that, if I end up going back in and checking to see if it comes back on. But for now, I'm mostly just interested in seeing what they have on the snack cart, to see if they have anything more than just the peanuts they gave out last time, or if it's just going to be that again this time, because this is around the same duration of flight, but not really, slightly longer. So it could very well be that they have the peanuts again, and that'll be it. So we'll just have to see together with that one. Okay, I just did that last segment, and they're just now coming back with the snack and drink cart. And on the snack one, it did look like there was more than just the peanuts they gave out last time, and technically that's not what they gave me. Kind of the same thing, but this berry mix type of thing. Chances are I'm probably still not going to eat it. But yeah, it did look like on the cart they had like 2 or 3 other options other than that. But they didn't ask me what I wanted, they kind of just picked one out will and handed it to me, which was a little weird, but whatever, it is what it is. And there was the same drink cart from last time, which was nice. But yeah, we only have about 45 minutes left to go until landing, so I'm going to use the rest of the flight on the way in to rate it using my channel original rating system. I call it the Raleigh rating scale because my first name is Raleigh. If you're new here, I use it to rate all of my flights at the end of every one of my airline reviews, to rate the airline overall and see how they did. I have 6 different categories to see how well the airline did at each. But if you're not new here, welcome back, good job, you made it this far in the video. So, let's go see how Aeromexico did today. The service was an 8 out of 10. They were very welcoming, kind, and efficient with the snack and drink runs on both legs with the time they had, and it thoroughly got through it for everyone. I didn't love that they didn't offer or ask me which specific snack packet I wanted on the second flight, and just surprised me with a random one. The cleanliness was a 9 out of 10, as both cabins looked great. Clean seats and windows, and very little dirty spots, if any, on the overheads and walls. My only issue was just this rather suspicious substance on my tray table on the Max, which was gross, but that was it. It was a beautiful MAX interior, apart from that. If anything, the older 737NG interior looked better than the MAX's. The Wi-Fi was an 8 out of 10, as it was definitely available, and there were the essential options for what you needed. It was also fairly priced, and I loved being able to try it before you buy it with the 15 minutes for free option. Unfortunately though, it wasn't very reliable on the second flight. It stopped working on climb out, and it came back later, but it was hazy. When it did work though, we were able to browse, message, track the flight, scroll social media, but streaming anything is gonna be a bingo. The food was a 4 out of 10, as all they ended up giving me were free peanuts and berry mix, which is great if that's your thing. But that's just a third of what would be provided elsewhere for snacks on other domestic flights on other flag carriers. In Europe, I was able to get full-on sandwiches in economy on the short-haul services from fellow SkyTeam airlines Air France and KLM, so Aeromexico is completely slacking in that department. I'm sure they do full meals on longer flights, but it was just a disappointment that we got the bare minimum on this one. I've seen much better on shorter flights. There looked like a selection of about 2 or 3 other tiny snack packets that were there, so there is something more, but I was just only offered and showed the one. But on the bright side, there are a pretty good amount of drinks to choose from: water, Coke, and even some juice and beer. The entertainment was a 7 out of 10, as there is a great selection on the seatback IFE to watch, with content for everyone. But just due to the fleet inconsistency, the seatback monitor will not be there on every Aeromexico flight. As a substitute for that, I would just imagine they add all the same movie and TV selections and a flight map in the internet browser with the internet connectivity options. There is the in-seat power to keep your devices alive while connected to the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi, as mentioned, was nice to have, but will just be hit or miss. The seat was a 9 out of 10. It checked all of the boxes for a perfect economy seat. It had the standard dimensions like width, legroom, recline, thickness, and cushioning. It had the IFE on the seat back in front, and in-seat power, but if I had to criticize one thing about it, it would be nice to have USB-C for something. Just saying. So, the overall rating for the airline is going to be a 7.5 out of 10. Gracias. Hi. Raleigh Fisher checking in. I got rebooked from, I think, the airport apartments. Alright, hotel in Monterrey. The original location I was supposed to stay at actually canceled on me last minute, which was 5 minutes away from the airport. So then they rebooked me to a spot that's 15 minutes away from the airport. And it's also like $60 more expensive too, which isn't ideal. So yeah, that's why you get travel insurance. So now I'm gonna have to contact the original property and ask for a refund or compensation. So yeah, that's fun. But no, yeah, final thoughts on Aeromexico today. For a flag carrier, yeah, I thought it was alright. The seat was pretty good, the entertainment was good, the Wi-Fi was okay. Just the food and snacks, those tiny snack packets, whatever those were. Ew, I don't even know. Yeah, just the peanuts and those tiny berry bites, whatever they were. Yeah, I've seen better on shorter flights on other flag carriers. Yeah, more selection. It could be a lot better, but yeah, I'm sure there's full-on meals and all. A little more selection maybe during the day on longer flights. But for this one, even for the duration it was at night, you could do better. But you know what? It is what it is. And we could go an hour without a proper and good snack. But yeah, I gotta go work on doing the intro for the next airline in the morning. So I'll see you guys then for that. Bye for now.